Easy now. Papa got things making hands
come down. Ooh, you make my high come down. Always tripping when you come around. I'ma have to cut you off, like right now. You see, I don't want to drive me. You can say that for your mama. Maybe you should smoke some. Me try the marijuana. I was never you good. The vibe was straight. Showed you a couple of things and they ain't finna change. I treated you right. Everything was a gift from a time to your bag and the color on your lip. Yeah, you
Welcome to a special episode of Seahawks Man to Man, a YouTube exclusive. My name is Michael-Shawn Dugard. You guys know where to follow me on whatever that app is called that Elon Musk is running these days. My app name has not changed. Mikedugar. Appreciate all the love and support of you guys following and watching on YouTube, on our channel, Seahawks Man to Man. That's man, the number 2 man. Thank you so much. Before we get started, go ahead, just take a moment to like and subscribe while you're listening to me. We really appreciate that. Thank you. Chris, go ahead, talk to him.
What is going on, everyone? It's your boy Christopher Kid. You can follow me on Twitter at CKIDD206, and that's CKid206.
All right, this is our. Oh, you good?
No, you good. You got it.
Yes, this is our standout plays, week 10. We're back after the Seahawks narrowly beat the Commanders. We're going to go through a ton of stuff. Before we go, just a real quick disclaimer. Chris, we should tell them right now, we ain't got no defensive plays in here. We didn't do nothing.
Sorry.
We watched the film. Chris and I did this week independently. He watched it on his own. I watched it on my own. We sent each other the plays we wanted. Looked up and was like, we don't have anything from the defense this week. Not to say that they didn't have any standout plays. There were some from Spoon we probably could have used. But at the end of the day, the best ones we thought are the ones that stood out the most. See how we're staying on brand there. We're on offense. So without further ado, Chris, you want to set it off?
I will set this party off, get this party started, however you want to call it. Here we go. Look at this. This just looks great. And for multiple reasons, because one, you guys don't know what's coming, but I do, because I watched this play like 100 times, selfishly, because A, it's a screen, and Mike is like, here we go with the screen talk again. But they executed it, guys. That's the best part. They executed it. So the Seahawks, they're coming out in what? They got one wide receiver, 3 receivers, looks like a tight end. So you guys know what personnel that is. We've done it week after week. That's 11 personnel. Charbonnet's in the backfield as your running back. And it appears that you have two high safeties for the Commanders. This could be cover 2. It could be man-to-man based on the motion. And I don't think anyone's going to follow Charbonnet on this motion. It's paused right now, but Charbonnet's motioning out to Gino's left. They're in zone. And as we roll it, just watch how the play develops. It almost gets blown up, but it's a lovely screen. Just tears on my eyes. You guys can't see them, but this is what you want to see. And I want to show you guys from this vantage point. I want you guys to watch Damien Lewis, okay? Now, it's not the cleanest executed block, but it gets the job done. Because if he doesn't make this play, then Mike's texting me, we should stop doing screens, Chris. We've had multiple discussions about this. Ban screens. I don't know if I have to ask him to do it in a press conference. Mike would basically be just done with it, as he's been pretty much all season. But now, as the screen game is slowly working, Mike is he jumped in the car. The door is still open. He's thinking about closing it. So we're trying to get Mike to close the door and go on a ride for screens. So we're going to roll it here. And again, watch Damien Lewis comes across and gets just enough. It's not a lot. I'll admit. Okay. It's not a lot, but it's enough for our guy, Will Dissly, to catch it, turn upfield. Peters is making a good block here. Phil Haynes, everyone's doing their job. And with screens, it's all about executing and everyone doing their job, which is why it ended up being a first down. So I'm going to roll it. It's not a lot, but it's enough. And that's what it takes to successfully run a screen. Now you ask, Chris, well, why hasn't it been working in previous years? Well, it's not executed. Guys are not getting the blocks. Damien might have, in fact, missed that block here. Boom. That might have not happened. He might have missed it, and he's tackled for no gain or a loss. But in this game, it was perfectly executed, and it was a great play. Now, the Seahawks have been running screens a little bit more, and maybe it's just because I've just fallen in love with the fact that, A, I want the Seahawks to continue to run screens, and B, I believe it's going to work. They just have to execute and block. And Damien Lewis did a really, really good job, as well as everyone else, and setting that block, allowing Will Dissly to make the play and get upfield. And that's what you want out of screens consistently. So hopefully we see more screens against a front that includes Aaron Donald, someone that's a disruptor. One way to stop him, run a few screens. Have him run upfield, and psych, we got you. Now, I'm going to continue showing love to D-Lou because he didn't just do well in the screen game. Mike was telling me that, oh, yeah, I actually threw some plays up on the screen on Twitter. He threw some plays on Twitter that focused in on our guy, who I'm talking about, Damien Lewis. So this personnel is a little different, all right? I want to say this is the second quarter, if I'm not mistaken. The Seahawks are losing as well, which is also unfortunate. But the personnel here, you got... Or actually, the Seahawks are up 16-12, and it's just under 2 minutes. Excuse me. Again, the Seahawks are going to be in 13 personnel, so you got 3 tight ends. At the top of your screen, you'll have Parkinson, and that is Noah Fant. And then at the bottom, you see Jake Bobo coming in motion, and then you'll have Will Dissly as well. And then if you look at this defensively, the Commanders know it's a run play. At least they're confident it's going to be the run. They come out in their 5-2 package. So that's 5 fat men. Literally how it works. You got your 2 DNs. So you got 2 defensive ends, and then everybody else is defensive tackles. So they're loading up to what? Stop the run. Then you have your 2 linebackers and your DBs on the field as well. Damien Lewis is just kicking butt, man. Now, it's going to be tough at this angle, but as we roll through it, you'll see the impact in Damien Lewis. So it starts off with Kobe. Bam! Sets it. And then just look at the hole, guys. This is beautiful. I'm excited. I want to play football. Someone give me the rock. I can run through those lanes. Did you see how big those holes were? This is perfectly executed. Send Jake in motion. Parkinson comes in motion. Bang! Clears up the DN. Dame Lewis. Next man up. This is execution at its finest, which allows Zach Charbonnet to get a nice, good run. This is what Pete Carroll wants to do. This is how he envisions this offense. Hat on hat. Laying dudes out, creating holes, creating lanes. I'm going to pause it here. Look at this. Look at that Grand Canyon, man. Mike, you don't think I can run through that?
Not very far, but I do think you could run through it. I'm not. Yeah, those holes close quick, man. I'm not gonna lie.
They close very quick, but just look at how perfectly executed this is. Everyone's doing their job. Jake might be beating himself up like, damn, I could have got to number 35, but it's cool. For the most part, this is what you want to see. Hat on hat, guys moving up the field. I love it. And I'm going to continue this train because we got one more for you. And guess who it is, ladies and gentlemen? Yeah, you guessed it. It's Damien Lewis. We're going to go to the next play here. So I like this play for a couple of reasons, right? Damien, he had a good day in the office. And he had a good day when it comes to pulling. On that last play, he pulled across the formation and was able to, I believe, get the linebacker. Well, he going to do this again. He going to flatline a defensive end. So the defensive end on the right-hand side, he's lined up over Will Dissly and Noah Fant. So on your right-hand side, you'll see the DN there lined up right over Dissly next to Fant. We're going to roll it and watch number 68 just come across and create this running lane. Come on, man. Come on, man. D. Lou in the office. This is great execution. And then everyone else does their job. Now, what usually happens is, I know everyone remembers the Baltimore game where Clowney was everywhere. It's because the DNs were not getting blocked. Guys were missing assignments and players were getting in the backfield. If D. Lou doesn't make this block, the DN is probably wrapping up Charbonnet. And then, obviously it goes for a no gain, tackle for loss. You guys get my point. But because D. Lou executes so well, gets across, and then look, number 60, Phil Haynes. He's able to climb up off the double team and attack the linebacker, number 51. This is just beautifully executed. I love it. I love it. I know in recent weeks I've done defense and I never really focused on the run game, but watching the film, I watched it and I'm like, damn, this is really good blocking. These guys had a good day in the office. So shout out to D. Lou and the offensive line. I thought they did a really good job of creating lanes and allowing Zach Charbonnet and Kim Walker to have a pretty a decent day on the ground for the most part. And I know Mike, he has some highlight plays that he wants to get to that looks at, I don't know, maybe some screens. Mike, what do you say, man?
Yeah, we got a screen in there. I will note that those two Charbonnet runs were on back-to-back plays too. That was pretty impressive.
Oh yes, thank you. Yes, good.
Yeah,
Mike, yes.
it was back-to-back runs. We're like, hey, it worked once, let's do it again. I love that. I love hitting when the teams hit runs back-to-back. Yeah, I'm gonna show some love to not an individual player. This week what stood out was Shane Waldron, the OC. We noted this. I want to say, Chris, the first time when we played the Colts in Shane's first year as the play caller, where it's like, this is what when I see them hiring someone from the Rams or that McVay tree, this is what I think of is taking a play, making it look a certain way, and then being able to run a ton of different actions out of it. So this is the first one. This is actually the first play from scrimmage. They got the little return motion with Ken, and they use it to get Charles Cross out in space out of a stack. So pause it for me before it starts, or go back to it and like right before it starts, because Chris's favorite personnel, 11 personnel. This is out of a stack, and I love this little. I'm just calling it return motion. I think that's what it's called. I haven't asked anyone, but so you run this. Go ahead. You got all the receivers clearing out, or at least one of them clearing out. I think that's Tyler, and then boom, you run that motion. It gets you a screen on the first play of the game. Yes, Chris, I'm on board with screens. Like I'm on the screen train. If the conductor, what's the dude that drives the train? Is that a conductor?
You're asking the wrong person, but I think it sounds right. Conductor to
let's sure the dude driving the train. Let's that guy. If that guy is JSN, if he is the guy, then I'm okay with it. I like the Will Disley play, but I like this play. It's just a real simple play. But then I was watching the rest of the game, and I'm like, they kind of just they come back to it, and it took me a while watching the film to realize that. So that was the first play of the game. We got the screen to JSN out of the stack. With the return motion, Tyler clearing it out, DK blocking, and then pulling Charles out in space, which I love because Charles is really good athlete, really good feet. Getting him in space in that way is really good. This one is later in the game. This is, I believe, this is 2nd and 8. I forget what the first down play was, but this is 2nd and 8. So they have the same action. That's just drawn up a little different. Like go pre-snap from me. Real quick, Chris. So pause it here. Same personnel. I think in this case we just swapped DK for more Bobo. I think we swapped tight ends too. But either way, same look, or at least the same similar look. You got 3 people over on one side of the field instead of just like a stack like we had before. You got Will Disley over there instead of another receiver, and then Tyler isolated to the backside with Ken in again. And does the same little return motion. And before you play it, Chris, watch I think that's their nickel right there, right at the 20-yard line. Let's see. I think I got his jersey right in front of me. Danny Johnson, I think. Let's go with that. But he's essentially, I don't know their personnel all that well, but he looks like he's their nickel, essentially. So on this, you watch him when he rolled through it. Like because they ran a screen out of it, bang, what is he playing? A fake screen to Bobo on that. But instead of giving it to Bobo or even to Jackson for the screen there, you get the outside guys flowing that way, then you get a run to Ken. Now, those guys probably wouldn't have made the play anyway, but you see how the DBs had to then respect. They probably saw it like, oh, hey, this is that same thing again. You actually can see the nickel looking at the corner pre-snap, and then, oh, no. We got another version of this where this time we actually are giving it to Ken, but Gino or Jake and Jackson do a really good job carrying out the fake. And this is a 2nd and 8 run that ends up getting 7 yards. This is really good. Really, really run by Ken too, by the way. It gets 8 yards. And then the next play is a 3rd and 1 that they convert on a screen to DK. So they go from that, use that. Yeah, I know they were all on screens today. Like you mentioned, this was like one of their best screen days. So we've already seen that same action with the return motion. We've seen it twice already early in the game, used in 2 different ways with slightly different personnel. First, you get it on a screen to Jackson. Then they use the fact that a screen worked to fake a screen and then hand it off to Ken to get him a really positive gain on 2nd down that sets up an easy 3rd down, which they then converted. Like Shane's already in the bag. This 3rd one, where is this? This is later in the game. we got Chris's favorite personnel grouping again. We got
it happens to be the same play. Every time I pick a play, it's like, God dang it, can you guys run
I
any
know
other?
Well, today you had 2 13 personnels for what it's
Which is
worth.
nice.
Those 2 Charbonnet runs were 2 13 personnel. I just know 11's your favorite. So here we got the same thing. We've swapped tight ends again, which is really good to note because with the tight ends, you really like it's a lot of teams just have like a pass catching tight end and then they have like their blocking tight end guy. It's always good. What I think the Seahawks have is unique is that they can run pretty much anything with any of their guys. They all can run routes. They all can block. So that way, when I forget who mentioned this, but for instance, I don't know if you saw this, Chris. It was before it was somebody was talking about the Giants, like playing the Giants. And they were like, we know that the Giants don't think Darren Waller can block. So if he's in the game, we know the run is not going to his side. So they have another guy who's their blocking guy. I forget who it is. But you can't really key the Seahawks like that. Like if Noah's in, they can run to Noah's side. If Disley's in, they can run to Disley's side. Same thing with Parkinson. And if all those guys are in, they can still throw it. This is really useful for their tight end group. And so this time you got Colby on the backside ISO, and we do have another stack. Go ahead and run this one through, Chris. We get the return motion again, and this time, oh, I love this. This is beautiful. It didn't actually work as fully intended, but Chris, I want you to pause it for me right when he looks at JSN off of this because they're setting up what looks like another screen. Like right now, Chris, if you're the Commanders, you're like, oh, all right, now they're going back to the screen out of this action. Let's go jump on that. But instead of that, Geno fakes the screen to Jackson. DK fakes the block. And then this turns it, in essence, almost like an RPO where DK runs the slant. Now, credit to this linebacker there. What's his name? Mayo. David Mayo. Credit to him. He actually sits. They're probably what they're doing, Chris, is hoping that he overcommits and that window is wide open where DK, Geno can throw to DK. Credit to him for actually sitting still in the window. I was going to show you guys the end zone angle too, but it's not super clear where DK is in that. But from this angle, you can kind of see David sits right there. So you really can't throw that. You can throw the slant to DK, but it will be forced. But I like that. I just like the design of it, of trying something new. So first you got the screen, then you got the fake screen, hand it to Ken. Then you got the fake screen slant to DK, which they do a good job of covering. You can roll it through because Chris, after that, they get it right back to JSN, and who's wide open because they ended up botching that because Geno ended up moving in the pocket, kept his eyes downfield, and this was a 1st and 20. Yeah, this was a 1st and 20. I forget why it was 1st and 20. It doesn't matter, but it picked up 14 yards. Which is good, again, because Chris, sometimes when they get a false start and have to be 1st and 15 or 1st and 20 or whatever, a holding call, the drive is done. The drive is done. They were able to climb out of it, or at least climb back into it, make it respectable, because then it went from 1st and 20 to 2nd and 6. They ended up stalling on 3rd and 7 on this drive, but the point is they were able to use this action in another different way. Same personnel, tweak a few different players, tweak where some guys line up. Like so far, we've seen Tyler isolated backside. We've seen Colby isolated backside. We've seen the fake to JSN, like fake screen to Bobo. Like they're just all over it. This is the final time that I saw them use it. They maybe could have done it again. I don't recall. But this was the last time I had charted. This one is a 4th and 1 on what was the go-ahead drive. So the score's tied right now in the 4th quarter. So this is crunch time. They're going for it from the on 4th and YOLO, which as the captain of Never Kick, thank you, Pete. Thank you, Shane, for doing this. So we got a somewhat similar action. Can you see the motion in here before this? Jackson kind of moves a little bit. Yeah, so Jackson, as you can see, is like settling in, which is a nice little pre-snap indicator that they might be in man. They could disguise it here. But because I think that's either nickel or their safety coming up on Jackson like that, coming across the formations, like, all right, it's a cool little indicator to Geno and everyone else that what they might be in. And so that kind of creates that same trips to one side look that we saw in the second version of this. We've just swapped the tight end again. It's like we got Noah this time. Then you got Zach in place of Ken. Again, everyone's versatile. They can line up everybody everywhere and run the same stuff. It's beautiful. I love it. Like Chris almost cried earlier. I'm about to almost cry now. This is the crying show. 4th and 1, out of shotgun. Go ahead and run this through. They do the return motion again. Oh yeah, this is probably man based on that linebacker following Zach like that. And then they end up getting 7 yards on this. I think I have the end zone angle in here too, which is really cool, in particular for this play, because then we can just key on Jason Peters. Yeah, I love Jason Peters on this play as well, because the Commanders kind of actually play this all right, but it's hard to account for a 41-year-old right tackle blocking 2 guys, which is what Jason Peters does right here. But the reason that Jason Peters is why I threw in the end zone angle on this. But the main thing is to show Shane doing what you see a lot of the really good coordinators do. I mean, a lot of good coordinators do a lot of different things, but like what I liked about a Kellen Moore in Dallas, so what I like about an Andy Reid, what I like about Sean McVay, what I like about Kyle Shanahan is this type of stuff. None of this is quote unquote like fancy. It's not trick plays. You know, they're not doing nothing that you would consider like the broadcast would like marvel over in real time. But when you go back and look, this does make your offense hard to defend. They're running the same concept or idea out of the same formation, same concept, same idea, same motion, setting up multiple things each time. One time it's a screen to JSN. Next time it's a fake screen to Bobo with a run to Ken. Next time it's a fake screen to JSN with a slant to DK that then comes back to Jackson in the flat. The next time you got the return motion with Zach. Looks like they're getting man on the pre-snap indicator. They get an inside run out of it. Their 41-year-old right tackle plows 2 guys. Boom, they go down and take the lead. Shout out to Shane. Like, why I saw this in real time, but going back and looking, I was like, man, this is great. And also shout out to Noah. Man, I mentioned that how they can put anybody into block. What do they do here, Chris? They run it to Noah's side, right? Because he's not just the pass-catching tight end of the 3. All their tight ends can do everything. So you can't just assume that because they put 87 in that they're going to throw the ball. Now, granted, this is 4th and 1, so you would never assume a run anyway. But the fact that they can like, hey, we can run to Noah's side, even though he's like a pass-catching, quote-unquote, tight end. It's just great. Love to see this stuff from Shane, because, again, when you look around the league, there's a lot of things that the good coordinators do, like a characteristic of them. This is one for me that, now, granted, the plays have to work, first of all, but when they do, like how the first play of the game worked, you chart that down, and you're like, yep, we can get back to that. How, first they went back to it in like every quarter. Like, that's crazy. Every quarter they were able to get back to a version of that play and do something different. And Chris, you just know, like, I love that we're doing this now, because now people are going to watch this, and we can all on Sunday as a big man-to-man family watch the game and be like, all right, let's see what other variations they have out of that action. Like, we might get an action where they fake that, and then it's like a reverse to DK or something crazy that even if it doesn't work, it sets up a fake reverse to DK that turns into a play action wheel route to Bobo. Like, just so much you can just do. They've actually run that action in some other games too and done some different stuff. I think Nate Tice at The Athletic, one of my colleagues, noticed that as well. The point is, shout out to Shane. He did what we on this show have been asking for a while, man. You ain't got to have a big old playbook. You got a couple concepts that work. You can dress them up. Well, boom, you get a head coaching job because he used to work with Sean McVay. It's brilliant stuff.
Real simple, but as you can see, when it's executed, it looks really good. You saw it from the run, the pass, and the screen. Execution, baby, and it looks really good. So, as you mentioned earlier, dressing it up the same, but then running different plays from it. We out here playing Madden, baby. What's up?
Yeah, man, I love that. Shout out to Shane. I think this is probably our first episode where the 2 people being highlighted are Shane and Damien Lewis, like the left guard and the coordinator. But they earned it. Like D-Lou being able to do what he does, coming across, like being a good athlete. Those are all the 3 players you shows are a good example of D-Lou being a good athlete. Coming across the formation, being able to key up his guy, get the block, and spring his back or spring his tight end on the screen. Still not a fan of those, but you're right. That was a really good play. But then, yeah, Shane doing his part, or Shane and his staff. I don't know. Maybe someone else was responsible for that. But anyway, we'll give the credit to Shane until I dig deeper and find out someone else was a part of that. But yeah, it was good stuff, Chris. And we're probably going to see something very similar this week with trying to get Damien Lewis, one of their better run blockers, ISO'd and help spring guys, and dressing up plays to look like one thing earlier in the game and come back to it later with something different, oh yeah, they're gonna need that to be able to beat Sean McVay, I think.
Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. It's been another episode of Seahawks Man. Oh, we'll run that back. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. It's been another episode of Standout Plays Seahawks Man to Man Week 10. We will come back to you guys after their match against the Los Angeles Rams. Seahawks have a chance to go 7-3. So this is a big game because, man, next 4, God damn, they got some competition. But Mike, is there anything you want to add before we get out of here?
Yes, as always, I just want to say appreciate the love to you guys. One last reminder, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button on the YouTube. We got a podcast announcement coming soon too, so be on the lookout for that coming very soon to you guys. Until then, we'll catch you in our post-game show on Monday morning. Peace.